On one hand, we have the detention of Ladakhi social activist Sonam Wangchuk, who has been tirelessly working for the environment and the rights of his people. On the other hand, we see the parole granted to Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh, a man convicted of rape and murder, released just before elections. This video will compare their lives, their work, and the ethical dilemmas surrounding the government's decisions in both cases. Let's talk about Sonam Wangchuk first. Sonam is an engineer, environmentalist, and social reformer from Ladakh. He is best known for his innovative solutions to environmental challenges like the Ice Stupa project, which addresses water shortage in Himalayan region. In addition, he is the founder of SECMOL, Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, a school designed for students who struggled in the traditional education system. Wangchuk's mission has always been focused on sustainability, environmental protection, and education. Recently, however, he has been advocating for constitutional safeguards under the 6th schedule for Ladakh, which would protect the region's resources and ensure greater autonomy for its people. His peaceful protests, like his hunger strike in 2023, were aimed at drawing attention to these important issues. Yet, despite his non-violent approach, he had faced detention and restrictions from the government. Now let's contrast this with Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh, a self-styled godman and leader of the Dera Sacha Sauda. Ram Rahim has millions of followers across India, but beneath this spiritual facade lies a dark truth. In 2017, Ram Rahim was convicted for raping 2 female followers and was later implicated in the murder of a journalist who had exposed his wrongdoings. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison for these heinous crimes. However, despite his serious convictions, Ram Rahim has been granted multiple paroles over the years, the latest just before the Haryana elections. This has raised suspicions about political motivation behind his parole, and his release could influence voters through his large followings. Now, let's take a moment to compare these two individuals, Sonam Wangchuk, the environmentalist, and Ram Rahim, the convicted criminal. Sonam Wangchuk had spent his life educating children, preserving the environment, and advocating for local autonomy in Ladakh. Ram Rahim, on the other hand, was found guilty of raping women and murdering a journalist, misusing his position of power to exploit vulnerable people. Despite this stark difference in their contribution to society, the government's action tells a different story. Wangchuk was detained during peaceful protests calling for the protection of Ladakh's environment and its people. Ram Rahim, on the other hand, has been repeatedly released on parole, even after being convicted of some of the most serious crimes. The message these decisions send is troubling. Why is an individual working for the betterment of society facing detention while a convicted criminal is granted freedom? Let's now explore the ethical issues involved in these decisions by the government. First, justice and fairness. You can use them in your answer writing on this topic. The first ethical issue is justice and fairness. Ethically, justice should be blind to personal or political affiliations. When a convicted criminal is granted parole, especially before elections, it raises questions about the fairness of the legal system. On the other hand, someone like Sonam Wangchuk, who is exercising his democratic right to peaceful protest, should be protected and not detained. Second ethical issue is political manipulation. Ram Rahim's release just before the election suggests political manipulation. The ethical question here is whether votes are being prioritized over justice. Is the government willing to overlook heinous crimes in exchange for political gain? The third ethical issue is freedom of expression versus repression. Wangchuk's detention raises the issue of freedom of expression. In a democracy, individuals should have the right to speak out and protest peacefully. Detaining him for demanding constitutional safeguards for Ladakh undermines the principle of free speech and democratic engagement. Fourth issue will be public trust and morality. Finally, there's the question of public trust. When the government releases a convict criminal while detaining a peaceful activist, it sends a troubling message about the government's moral compass. How can citizens trust the system when the line between right and wrong becomes blurred? Now, these decisions have broader implications for the future of our society. Okay, if you talk about the implications of these issues, it has a much broader implication for our future society. If we continue to see convicted criminals treated with leniency while activists face repression, we are heading towards a moral crisis. As citizens, we must ask ourselves, what kind of society are we building? One where justice and integrity are the foundations, or one where power and manipulation rule? Sonam Wangchuk's fight for environmental justice and the right of his people is one that deserves our attention. It's not just about Ladakh, it's about the future of activism, environmental protection, and democratic rights in India. So, what can we take away from this comparison made? The ethical contrast between how Sonam Wangchuk and Ram Rahim Singh are treated by the government is stark. One stands for peace, education, and sustainability. The other has been convicted of abusing power and committing heinous crimes. And yet the government's action seems to favor the latter. It is up to us as a society to hold our leaders accountable. We must push for a system where justice is served fairly, where freedom of expression is protected, and where moral integrity is upheld in governance. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into an important ethical issue. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others. Let's keep the conversation going and work towards a more just society.